Think you know what rare means? Try finding something that exists for exactly 22 minutes before it vanishes. Or a mineral with only one specimen in the entire world. Earth's been experimenting for billions of years, and some of its creations are so bizarre, so impossibly scarce, that most scientists will never see them in person. We're diving into materials that shouldn't exist, elements that decay faster than you can say their names, and crystals so rare that collectors guard them like treasure. I'm Mike with List 25, and these are 25 rare natural materials you won't believe exist. 25. The element that's barely there. There's less than a single gram of astatine on the entire planet at any given time. That's it. Less than what you put in your coffee. Astatine sits below iodine on the periodic table, part of the halogen family. But while chlorine and fluorine are everywhere, astatine is practically a ghost. It forms naturally when uranium and thorium decay, but it disappears almost instantly. Scientists have studied it for potential cancer treatments, but good luck gathering enough to actually use. If you wanted to collect all the astatine on Earth, you'd have maybe 25 grams. And by the time you finish collecting it, half of it would already be gone. 24. Gone before lunch. Francium's most stable form lasts 22 minutes. Not 22 hours, not 22 days, 22 minutes. That means if you somehow manage to gather a sample, you'd watch it decay in less time than it takes to watch a sitcom. It's an alkali metal, like sodium and potassium, which means it should theoretically explode on contact with water. But no one's ever had enough of it to test that theory. Francium forms in trace amounts from actinium decay in uranium ores, but measuring it is nearly impossible. It's the second rarest naturally occurring element, and it's about as useful as you'd expect something that vanishes in under half an hour to be. 23. The loneliest mineral. Only one piece of Kyawthuite has ever been found. One. The mineral was discovered in Myanmar, and despite decades of searching, no one has found a second sample. It contains bismuth and tellurium in a combination so specific, it may never form again. Mineralogists are fascinated by it, not because it's useful, but because its existence is basically a geological accident. The conditions required to create it were so narrow that it's a miracle it even happened once. If you want to see it, you'll need to track down whoever owns the only specimen, so good luck with that. 22. The mineral that redefined rare. For decades, Painite was the rarest mineral on Earth. There are fewer than 10 known crystals around the world right now, and if you want to see one, you basically have to be a museum curator or a very wealthy collector. The mineral is a borate with calcium, zirconium, and boron, and it forms stunning reddish-brown to orange crystals. It was first identified in Myanmar in the 50s, and for years it was assumed that it was the only place it would ever be found. Modern mining has uncovered a few more specimens, but it's still incredibly rare. Most of the samples are locked away in private collections. The rest are in museums. Painite is proof that even on a planet with trillions of tons of rock, some things almost never happen. 21. The mineral that disappeared for decades. Poudretteite was discovered in the 60s at a quarry in Quebec. Then, it disappeared. Not physically, the samples were still sitting in drawers, but no one realized it was a new mineral species until 1986. For over 20 years, this pink gemstone was just ignored. The mineral forms tiny translucent crystals in shades of pink and violet. It's a potassium sodium borosilicate, which makes it both fragile and beautiful. Gem quality specimens are extraordinarily scarce, and most collectors will never see one in person. So, if you've got a piece, congratulations. You're holding something most mineralogists don't even know exists. 20. Beauty with a body count. Hutchinsonite is one of the most beautiful minerals you'll ever see. Deep cherry red, needle-like crystals that practically glow. It's also one of the deadliest. The mineral contains thallium, arsenic, and lead, three of the most toxic elements you can find. Handling it improperly can ruin your day, your week, and possibly your life. It forms under very specific hydrothermal conditions, which is why it's so rare. Collectors love it for its vivid color and unique crystal structure, but they also know to keep it sealed in a case and far away from anything you might accidentally eat. Hutchinsonite is nature's way of saying, look, but don't touch. 19. The mineral that projects images. Place a piece of Ulexite on top of a newspaper, and the text appears to float on the surface of the stone. It's called TV rock for a reason. The mineral is made of hydrated sodium calcium borate, and its internal structure is filled with thousands of microscopic fibers that act like fiber optic cables. Light travels through them, projecting whatever's underneath directly onto the top. It's a natural optical illusion, and it's absolutely mesmerizing to see in person. Ulexite forms in arid, evaporate-rich environments, so it's relatively uncommon. But if you can get your hands on a piece, it's one of the coolest party tricks in mineralogy. I used to have one. I have no idea where it is now. It was cool putting it on newspaper and kind of reading it with it. It was neat. 18. The mineral that vanishes daily. Mirabilite grows at night and disappears during the day. Every single day. The mineral is a hydrated sodium sulfate that forms in arid regions and along the shores of saline lakes. When the temperature drops at night, crystals grow rapidly. When the sun comes up and heats it up, they dissolve. This daily cycle of growth and dissolution makes Mirabilite one of the most transient materials on Earth. If you want to see it, timing is everything. Show up at the wrong time and it's just gone. It's found at places like the Great Salt Lake, but even there, it's fleeting. 17. Rainbow metal stairways. Bismuth crystals look like they were designed by a sci-fi artist. Step geometric formations covered in swirling rainbow colors. Blues, pinks, greens, and golds. The colors come from a thin oxide layer that forms as molten bismuth cools. The interference patterns shift depending on the angle of light, creating an iridescent effect. The stepped structure happens because bismuth prefers to grow on the edges of crystals rather than filling in the center, creating these intricate staircases. While bismuth itself isn't rare, these perfectly formed crystals are highly prized. They're non-toxic, have a low melting point, and are popular in art, jewelry, and scientific demonstrations. These bismuth crystals are proof that chemistry can create accidental masterpieces. 16. The mineral that fooled scientists. Cervandonite was misidentified for years. Scientists thought it was hematite or some other oxide mineral. They were completely wrong. The mineral is an arseniosilicate, which means arsenic is substituting for silicon in its structure. That is incredibly rare, and it threw off researchers for decades. It was first discovered in the Swiss Alps, and it's still only found in a handful of locations worldwide. The crystals are black, brittle, and about as obscure as minerals get. 15. The mineral from space. Khatyrkite is a naturally occurring copper-aluminum alloy, and it was first discovered in the Khatyrkite meteorite in Russia's Far East. On Earth, natural intermetallic alloys like this are incredibly uncommon. In space, they form under conditions we can barely imagine. Studying Khatyrkite gives scientists insights into the early solar system and the strange processes that create rare metal alloys in meteorites. It's small, brittle, and metallic in appearance and has no commercial use. But it's a window into how materials form in environments that are completely alien to us. 14. The mineral that exists nowhere else. Gauthierite is only found in one place on Earth, the Shinkolobwe mine in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. The mineral is bright orange, highly radioactive, and contains uranium, lead, and potassium in a combination that exists nowhere else. It's officially recognized as a distinct species, but there's no second sample to compare it to. Because it's radioactive, handling it requires precautions. Collectors love it for its vivid color and extreme rarity, but they also know to keep it locked away and monitored. 13. The blue crystal with five-fold symmetry. Pentagonite is a polymorph of canvasite. which means it has the same chemical composition, but a completely different crystal structure. And it's way rarer. The mineral was first identified in Oregon in 1973, and today it's most notably found in India. Its vibrant blue crystals form in thin, radiating sprays with a distinctive pentagonal symmetry. The color alone makes it stunning, but the rarity takes it to another level. Collectors prize it for its beauty and scarcity, and mineralogists study it to understand how vanadium-bearing silicates form. 12. The mineral that takes millions of years to cool. Tetrataenite forms almost exclusively in meteorites, and here's why. It requires cooling at a rate of just a few degrees per million years. On Earth, that kind of cooling doesn't happen, but in space, where meteorites drift through the void for eons, it does. The result is an iron-nickel alloy with a unique chemically ordered crystal structure. The mineral has unusual magnetic properties, and studying it gives scientists insights into how meteorites cooled and evolved in the early solar system. If you want to hold Tetrataenite, you'll need to get your hands on a meteorite. And even then, there's no guarantee it'll be there. 11. The mineral born in volcanic fire. Rheniite forms in volcanic fumaroles, where temperatures can reach 300 degrees Celsius. It's a rhenium sulfide, and it's one of the rarest minerals on Earth. The mineral is most famously known from the Kutyryavi volcano in Russia's Kuril Islands, where it forms as a sublimation product in high-temperature vents. Outside of that specific environment, it doesn't exist. Rheniite has no commercial applications, but it's invaluable to scientists studying volcanic mineralization and rare element geochemistry. 10. The gold that shouldn't be. Gold normally exists in two oxidation states. It's either +1 or +3. But divalent gold, or Au2+, is a completely different beast. This oxidation state is incredibly unstable because of relativistic effects. Electrons moving at high speeds do weird things. In nature, divalent gold is almost non-existent. Scientists have synthesized it in labs, allowing them to study its unusual chemical behavior. But outside of those controlled environments, you're not going to find it. 9. The platinum of minerals. Tellurium is one of the rarest stable elements in Earth's crust. It's about as abundant as platinum, which is to say, barely. But when it does appear, it forms some seriously unusual minerals. There are over 190 known tellurium-bearing species, combining with metals like gold, silver, bismuth, and mercury. These minerals typically form in hydrothermal and volcanic deposits, and they're prized for their metallic luster and unusual compositions. They're also incredibly scarce, making them highly sought after by collectors. I guess even one of Earth's rarest elements can generate an unexpected spectrum of minerals when the conditions fall into place. 8. The mineral that turns red in the sun. Tugtupite has a superpower. It changes color when exposed to light. The mineral is found in Arctic Greenland, and it's nicknamed reindeer stone, or reindeer blood, because of its dramatic color-changing ability. It shifts from white, or soft pink, to vivid crimson or raspberry red when exposed to sunlight or UV light. The color change is reversible. Take it out of the light and it fades back to pale pink. Put it back in the sun, and it turns red again. Tugtupite is exceptionally rare, and its dramatic visual effects make it highly prized by collectors. 7. Almost as hard as diamond. Bromellite ranks 9 on the Mohs hardness scale. For context, diamond is 10 and corundum, sapphire and ruby, is also 9. The mineral is a naturally occurring form of beryllium oxide, and it forms colorless to pale green crystals that are both rare and incredibly durable. Its hardness makes it interesting for potential industrial applications, but its scarcity keeps it out of any practical use. It's studied for its refractory characteristics and its potential in high-temperature ceramics, but mostly it's just admired for being one of nature's toughest materials. 6. The mineral that can't grow straight. Wawayandaite was discovered in the Franklin mine in New Jersey, and it's known for one very specific thing. Its crystals are twisted. The mineral forms highly curved, warped, and bent structures that make it instantly recognizable. Its name comes from the Lenni Lenape word Wawayanda, meaning many windings. Officially recognized as a distinct species in 1989, Wawayandaite is still incredibly scarce. It's of interest to mineralogists studying unusual crystal growth processes, and is a favorite among collectors who appreciate its unique morphology. 5. The silicon of quantum computing. Herbertsmithite is rare, but that's not why it's on this list. This light green mineral has a unique crystal structure called a Kagome lattice, where copper atoms are arranged in a way that prevents their magnetic spins from aligning. Even at temperatures near absolute zero, the spins stay frustrated. This creates what's called a quantum spin liquid state, an exotic phase of matter that's of huge interest to physicists working on quantum computing. It's even been called the silicon of quantum computing. 4. The mineral that was lost and found. Dinorite was discovered decades ago, documented, and then lost. Not the mineral itself, but the type of specimen, the original sample used to define the species. Without it, the mineral was discredited. Scientists couldn't confirm its existence, so it was essentially erased from the record. Fast forward to the 21st century, and surviving specimens were reanalyzed using modern techniques. Turns out, Dinorite was real all along. It was formally revalidated, confirming its unique chemical composition and crystal structure. 3. The mineral from the Alps. We're talking about Cervandonite again, but this time focusing on where it comes from. The mineral is primarily found at Pizzo Cervandone on the Italian-Swiss border, in alpine fissures where conditions are just right for its formation. The arsenic for silicon substitution in its structure makes it incredibly unusual and easy to misidentify. It forms small brittle crystals that are of great interest to mineralogists studying rare earth elements and arseniosilicate systems. 2. The mineral that's unstable by nature. Georgite is stunning. Vivid sky blue crystals that practically glow. It's also one of the most unstable minerals you'll ever encounter. The mineral is an amorphous copper hydroxycarbate, and it rapidly alters to malachite over time. That means intact specimens are extraordinarily difficult to find. Most of the time, by the time you dig it up, it's already started changing. Georgite forms in the oxidation zones of copper deposits, and it's found in only a few places worldwide. Its delicate nature and vibrant color make it highly sought after by collectors and researchers. 1. Tiny, rare, and incredibly useful. Ulexite is rare, scientifically significant, and barely visible. The mineral is a bismuth silicate that crystallizes in a unique cubic system, forming tiny rounded tetrahedral crystals that rarely exceed 1 to 2 millimeters. That is smaller than a grain of rice. But here's the thing. Ulexite isn't just a pretty mineral. It's used as a scintillator in high-energy physics experiments, computed tomography, and radiation dosimetry. Its high refractive index and structural properties make it valuable in specialized scientific applications. For collectors, it's prized for its rarity, unusual crystal geometry, and brilliant luster. For scientists, it's a tool for exploring the universe at the smallest scales. And that's the list. 25 materials so rare, so unusual, and so specialized that most people will never see them in their entire lives. The wild part? These are just the ones we know about. There are probably dozens of other rare minerals hiding in caves, meteorites, and volcanic vents waiting to be discovered. Which one surprised you the most? Drop a comment below and let me know. And if you're still curious about the weird side of science, check out our video on 25 scientific mysteries that still baffle experts. The link is right here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like, share, comment, subscribe, click that notification bell so you don't miss out on any new content. I'll see you next time.